there. Welcome. Welcome to Homekeepers. My name's Arthelene Rippy. I'm so glad to be with you today. And I know we've got our wonderful, sweet, regular viewers out there. We appreciate you so much. And I know there are some brand new viewers, and I hope that you will become regular as well. We like to deal with anything and everything that affects the home. And I've really thought about that for a long time, and that is anything and everything. It does affect the home. And I have this deep-seated conviction that if we could get the homes, the families right in this nation, that would be the best thing that could happen. And that's not going to cost any tax dollars of any kind. It just deals with the heart. And that's what we will do here. And I have the perfect guest for that today. Dr. David Clarke. He's been on before, but not nearly often enough. And the man's written 10 books. This is the newest one, Married but Lonely. And I have a feeling that immediately many of you out there just kind of identified with that title. And we're going to talk about that. Let me give you some of his credentials. He's a psychologist and a speaker. He has a BA and a PhD in psychology, an MA in biblical studies. He's a frequent guest on Christian radio and television, and has been working and trying to help marriages come together and be strong and be happy and be what they're supposed to be for many decades. So I'm thrilled to have Dr. Clarke back. And I'm going to join Stephanie. We're going to make a surprise. I think we'll surprise you on this. But before I join her, I am again offering you this book on Israel. I am so impressed with it. Israel, Jerusalem, the Middle East, and this was written by Evangelist David and Kathy Walker, and the purpose was to make it concise, make it very readable so that you'll understand. Because places like all the nations in the Middle East, you know, you've got Palestine, you've got Israel, you've got Iran, you've got Iraq, you've got all of these places that we read about in the scripture many, many years ago. They're on the front of the newspaper today. And so maybe that confuses you. That's the reason the Walkers wrote this little book. And it's been a great response, so I want to offer it to you again. If you want to use your credit card, call 1-800-229-0059 or write to me at Homekeepers, Box 6922, Clearwater, Florida, 33758, and we'll send it to you. I cannot recommend it highly enough because you can lay it right by your Bible, have everything validated according to Scripture, and then you'll know what's going on when you watch the news. Good deal. Okay. What are we doing today, Sister Steph?
Today we are doing blueberry muffins.
Before we go into this, though, we took an internet test to see how long we would live.
Because everything on the internet is true.
Oh, yeah. So according to the internet, the questions I answered, I'm going to live to be 106.
That's amazing. I'm going to be 91.
91.
Yes.
And her problem was that before she met Jesus, she smoked. And so these were questions that way in your past even. So 106.
Yeah.
If I have this health, okay.
When you're 106, you'll be standing right here doing Homekeepers.
Yeah, yeah. I'll be talking to my great-great-great-grandchildren.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, I'll tell you what I love about this recipe. I can pretty much guarantee you almost everybody has all of these ingredients in their kitchen already. So it's very frugal and it's super duper easy. So we have 2 cups of baking mix. That's like Bisquick, Jiffy, you know, any of the ones. And, you know, you can look on the internet. You can make your own baking mix. You don't
Shall I spray these?
Yes, please.
I am the sprayer-in-chief here. Nobody does it.
And then I have 1 egg that...
Where do we get this great big?
I think that was a Keith.
Mr. Keith? I love you, Mr. Keith, if you're watching.
1 egg beat up. And we have...
Do you know what I like about this? And I never do it unless I have company because I live by myself. But to fix something special like this for breakfast, and you can smell it, and you can all sit around the table in your pajamas. And I do that when my grandkids come, and I'll fix them something that I can bake in the oven. There's just something about it.
And you know what's wonderful about these? You could make these, make 6 big ones, freeze 5 of them in separate, you know.
That's
and
big.
Then, yeah, and then you could take them out of the freezer every morning, and you'd still have them. So I put a third of a cup of sugar. I'm putting 2 tablespoons of oil.
This is really hard.
Yeah. 2/3 cup milk, and it's a really thick batter. We're gonna just mix that up.
And we're gonna put blueberries in it, but I think you could be very...
You know what? You could put strawberries. You could put chocolate chips. Yay. You know, if you don't have any of that, put some cinnamon and sugar in here, and you can have cinnamon.
Sprinkle it on the top. Yep. Yeah, it's a good idea. When I saw this, I thought, but there's a lot of moms that would like to.
And they have this stuff in their kitchen already. You don't have to go buy
It's a
anything
treat.
extra.
It's just a special treat.
So then you just want to fold gently the blueberries in.
My daughter's so good at doing things like this for her family. When the boys were real little and she'd pick them up at school, she'd always take a donut.
Yeah, I always had a little treat for Alexis when I picked her up from preschool.
And now the boys are 6 feet tall, but they got special things in their lunch for Valentine's Day.
Nice. That's nice.
And they better remember that too.
Yep. And then you just, it's a really thick batter, so make sure you get blueberries in every. Just put it in your spray tin. You bake it about 20 minutes.
We have also talked in the past about the great virtues of blueberries. It's one of the best things. It's good for your brain.
Yes.
So I had a cup of them this morning.
So you're going to try it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Aren't they pretty?
And they
Oh,
came
these
out
are
of the
warm.
pan. I
These
don't
are
need
warm.
redemption.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
No redemption on this one.
Nope.
We have had a few redemption shows.
Yes.
You know, some were my fault. Boy, those are good.
Yeah. Let's try.
Really? Why waste your time measuring a bunch of flour and stuff when, isn't that good?
That's very good. You want this recipe?
You do. And if you didn't get it while we were doing it, the information's coming up on your screen. And please stay with me. I want you to meet Dr. David Clarke. I think he's got a message that's one of the most important we can ever have today. And I'm very delighted he's back. If you haven't met him, you'll like him. Here we go.
If you would like a copy of today's recipe, please send your request along with a gift of $5 or more to Homekeepers, P.O. Box 6922, Clearwater, Florida 33758.
Okay, Dr. Clarke tells me he loves blueberry muffins, so if you do good, we'll give you one.
Well, if my wife's listening, just take a hint.
Yeah, well, we really made it easy for her.
It's pretty simple.
How many years married?
30 years. It'll be 31 in July. Hard to
So
believe.
you're totally qualified to do what you do.
I believe I am. Yeah. Don't ask my wife, but no, I'm qualified.
No question. He's lived it and taken it very seriously. Boy, it's... I just wonder, how have the issues changed over... How many years have you been doing this?
26 years in Tampa. So 26 years, yeah, in my career so far.
Have the issues changed when it comes to marriage?
Just that it's just worse. It just gets worse and worse and worse. We have no cultural support at all for marriage now. Your marriage is going to fail. We accept that, and you're supposed to move on. Now, the problem we have now is that Christians are now buying into that. The divorce rate is exactly the same, if not slightly higher, than those who don't know Jesus and who don't go to church. Well, this is just a desperate situation, and it's wrong.
Yeah, it gives me chills to think of such. I talked to one pastor who has a really big church in the area, and they're very, very fundamental. And he said it's amazing when you go through that people with the different last names living together.
Oh, yeah.
And he makes it clear, if you want to get married, you're going to have to separate a little bit.
Good for him.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. Get some purity going on. People don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
They'll just find another church where it's okay. Yeah.
Yep.
It's just disgraceful. It's not right, and it doesn't work.
I think when I held your book up, there were people in their family rooms, in the hotel, wherever, saying, "Oh yeah, that's me." Where did you get the idea? If you're married, you're supposed to be very, very close, happy, have somebody you can depend on, somebody loves you, understands you no matter what. So how could you be lonely if you're married?
Well, it's very easy. If you've married someone who's a good person and not involved in serious sin and loves you and you love that person, but they don't know how to create intimacy with you, I'm talking about men mostly. Now, there are some women too, but mostly it's a book for women to help their men. Men just don't get it. And so you just die emotionally, and you die. It even affects you physically. It can affect your spiritual life, because women know what they're missing. Men don't get it. So you can be married for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years and be just miserable deep down because you're not close to this man. You married him to get to know him. But men have a way of just blocking that off and watching the ball game, and as long as she's providing sex and we have a family and she's still doing all the things, I think you're happy.
And I'm providing.
Right, that's kind of the way, that's not what marriage is about.
Yeah, but I see this little boy popping out of the womb. What happens to him that by the time he reaches this phase of his life, is he emotionally deaf?
Pretty much. And we kind of come out that way. The brain wiring, God has
You mean
made
the way
us
men
this
are
way.
wired?
Oh yeah, we're just wired so different. Then culture takes over. Other men teach us you stuff your emotions, you don't share personally with your woman, you know, you provide, you're kind of tough, you know, you're tough, you know, and so and the main cultural icons of our time fill in the rest, and so we learn, well, not the way to do it. Now we're different when we're courting you. We'll talk and share, we're romantic, we have to get you. We're not stupid. But then after we get you, boom, it's all over.
Well, you just blew my next question, which was, I can almost feel sorry for the guy sitting in your little office, like he doesn't know any better, but I guess he does if he courted you in such a way that...
Yeah, I think it's almost like the animals at the zoo. He knows what to do. There's hormones operating and things in the air, and so he can seem to bring it. Now, he's actually not being intimate. The woman thinks he is because she's infatuated too. The guy could say, there's a rock in my shoe, and she's fascinated. There's a rock in your shoe with a guy. He's not being deep. He doesn't know how. Once infatuation ends and we really start to build our marriage, okay, then we have a problem. You find out, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to really meet your needs, nor do I really want to. And I'm a good guy. That's what we have to change.
I think that's a key too. A lot of guys would say, well, that's just the way I am.
Exactly. You married me. Here I am. The Bible says very different. How can you love your wife as Christ loved the church, Ephesians 5:25, without meeting her deepest needs? You can't do it. The requirement for the husband is sky high, much more than for the wife. She has her responsibilities, but men, Christian men, are falling short. And the good news is they can learn and they can change.
Well, I can tell you from growing up in the church, I never heard a lot of messages about men, love your wives as Christ loves. That is so huge. I never heard that much about that, but I heard a lot about women submit.
Oh, by all means.
If a man loved his wife as Christ loves the church, submission wouldn't be much of a problem.
It'd almost be a piece of cake. Part of my theory is, and I've seen this for 26 years, if not 30 plus, is that women are still told in the Christian community, if you just love your husband and meet his needs and don't make a fuss, well then he'll turn right around and love you, open up, meet your deepest needs. This is simply not true. He'll think everything's fine and he won't change. So we're still fighting that Christian teaching. It's not the woman's responsibility, it's the man's.
I want to put your website up so that you can get this book, and we'll leave the website up for the rest of the program. You might want to write it down because you might need some of his books, or you might need his help one of these days. This, no doubt, was born out of your practice.
It was.
No doubt. I can see where the woman drags the guy to talk to you, and good for him, he came.
Well, right. I give him credit for that, right.
And so, in fact, you have I would call a case study in here, one of the chapters, which was riveting to read, where you went through everything and the guy always had an answer. He always had a comeback, but I do this, I do this, I do that. If I remember right, they had a few sessions, didn't come back, came back a few months later, and she says, that's it.
She was done. When a woman is done, she'll love just so long, and then the resentments build up, and then one day comes. Now, she hasn't made her needs clear, that's on her, but the guy doesn't get it, and then one day, like this woman, she's done. And then she's through, and she's not kidding. Then he goes, honey, I didn't realize, I will do anything. I don't care.
Okay, you have 7 steps here. One, does the guy even know why he's there when she brings him to you?
Typically, no. I think things are fine. He'll tell me things are fine. I'll say, you're sitting in a Christian psychologist's office. Things can't be fine. This is costing you money. Your wife's upset. But I have a way of winning men over because I'm a man too. I get it, and I'm tough, but at the same time I'm understanding. So I kind of draw him in. What I'm offering him is God's blessing, the blessing of his wife, and her responding to him. She will love him like he can't believe if he'll meet her needs. Whereas if that doesn't happen, she has limitations. She really can't respect
Okay, why
them.
is she there? What are her needs?
She wants a man who is a godly man, and many men fall short on that. I can't really trust a man fully and give myself to him in every sense unless I can trust him, and I can't trust him unless he is walking with Jesus. So that's always the first thing on every Christian wife's list. Second, I want a lover. I want a man who will love me as Christ loved the church. He will listen to me. He'll create time to talk with me. He'll share himself with me. He will romance me. He will meet my deepest needs. If he's a dad, I want a guy that's really involved with the children, will help me be a team player. And then I also, if I'm a woman, I need a leader to be a servant, not the guy that calls all the shots or abdicates and lets me lead, but a man who will lead as Christ led, which is meeting my needs, serving me.
What about someone who'll just talk? Talk to me.
That would be good too, because most men have very little to say. How was your day? Okay, pretty good. Well, that tells me nothing. I want more than that, and men can learn. I actually carry a pad around. I've got a pad in my car right now that I jot down little notes on to prepare to talk to Sandy. I'll be talking to her tonight. I'll be talking about this, because I love talking to you. And so, but if I don't do that, men forget everything. We have no memory. You can't trust your memory. You don't have one. So I will jot down little things, and it shows her that I've thought about her. You can use an iPhone or an iPad too if you can record things, but I'm preparing to talk to her. Otherwise, I got nothing to say.
Oh, man. I hope a lot of guys heard that if they're interested in bettering their... one of my favorite couples, Herman and Sharon Bailey.
Yes.
And
wonderful
you know
people.
them, yeah.
I do.
And Herman told me during this part of his life, I don't know, I haven't talked to him about it recently, but at night he'd say, Lord, help me, show me how I can love Sharon as Christ loves the church.
Whoa.
And to be around those two, they are so comfortable with each other. Yeah. You know, that's how I judge a married couple.
What
kind of a
like?
Comfort level.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there touching? Is there affection? There's a vibe. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Then another one, Dr. Phil. I heard him say one day, every morning I ask myself, what can I do to make my wife's life better?
Man.
And that gave me a window into, into maybe his core beliefs, which he is a Christian and all.
That's what I understand. He's very solid. He doesn't broadcast it too much, but he's solid.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, now what about these ultra needy women? It wouldn't matter what the guy did. They need something else. I mean, you have a few of those.
Yes, I do. And there's a section in the book, I have a couple of chapters on, how is the wife, what are you doing that's preventing us from being intimate? And that's one of the categories. If you talk too much, if you have too many needs, if I can't please you, men say to me, Doc, I just can't please you no matter what I try. Okay, that's the category. She's got to, there's some personal issues in her life that she has to address. She was raised that way, maybe her needs weren't met. So it's like a black hole. It's like living with a vacuum cleaner, it's always on, you're sucking me in. So she has to address that so the guy can actually hit the target. So the women are responsible too for what they need to work on.
Why do people come to you? You've been busy for, 30 years or so.
Yeah. I stay busy.
How have the issues changed? I think the role of women, for one thing. My mom's generation, they kind of had one choice, and that was to get married.
Right.
That's not true now.
And they stayed married. By and large.
Yeah. Today, you've got these sharp women who are lawyers and accountants and head of corporations, and how does that change the dynamic in a marriage?
Boy, it's a big deal. It throws the roles off. Those traditional roles, at least they were clear. We could have used some changes, but now they're all thrown off, and the guy's not sure, how do I lead this woman? She's so sharp, and she works too, and she may make more money than I do, or just as much, and we have the kids. Life is incredibly busy. We had a traditional situation. Sandy's now working for me, which is great at the office. I can finally tell her what to do, Arthelene.
Oh, that's
wonderful.
Perfect.
It's amazing. Anyway, even I got to be careful. But she really raised the kids, and of course I was involved. But we had those simpler roles, but that's changed now. Women in the workforce, there are men in the workforce. Affairs happen just like that because they're not happy at home, they're not spending the time. And women now have the opportunity to leave, and they are leaving. That's why with this book I'm trying to stop ladies before they are done, because I have a job, I have my income. Culture says you don't have to put up with this, and so I'm just going to leave you. And they are by the millions, Christian wives. We got to stop that drain.
Wow. Well, has this changed the dynamic of your relationship have your wife working in your office.
It has to a degree. We're doing very well because we had pretty much separate situation. Although we always talked about business and things I was doing in terms of the speaking and my seminars and the books I was writing. But now she's involved in dealing with clients and all the different aspects, so it's really been a positive. She's very sharp. We have a lot of fun together. I love having her around. She's the most beautiful person in the world in every way. So, but there's a little more tension sometimes when I want her to do a job she doesn't want to do. I've had Ethel, my secretary, for 25 years. She's never questioned me. If I want her to do something, Ethel just does it, as she should. Well, the wife goes, I don't want to do that. It's a grunt job. I say, that's what the job is. If you don't do it, I got to do it.
I need a raise besides.
That's right.
Okay, if you just joined me, I'm talking with Dr. David Clarke. So glad to have him back on the show. This is his newest book, Married But Lonely. I think it's certainly a book whose time has come. And I think it's very prevalent, pretty obvious because of some of the things we've been discussing. You have something you called IA, Intimacy Avoider.
Right, the intimacy avoider.
And you say 85% of men are 15% of women. So we've kind of defined the problem.
Yeah, and they're out there, and they're born that way, they're shaped that way, but if you get married that way, you're going to make your spouse miserable and lonely. You don't want to, of course, and you don't even get it. If I'm an IA, I don't realize how unhappy you are. I think you're fine. You're not. So the good news is you can change. I've got a plan. There's certain steps to be gone through together. And if your spouse really loves you, if you come to your husband and you say, honey, and you get his attention, I'm not happy in this marriage, and here's exactly why, and here's my needs. Most decent men will say, okay, what do I do? You've gotten his attention, let's go, and I want to go through this book together. He'll go through it, and it will change everything.
Well, do you do premarital counseling?
I do. Pastors do that more than I do because I charge when I do it, but I'm pretty thorough about it. 6 sessions for the couple that want to come in.
Would that help a couple avoid this?
Oh, yes. In fact,
Really?
I think this book is ideal for premarital. Get all the truth out, meet the needs, find out now
yes.
what you can't talk and communicate. We just expose the whole thing, and then you're way ahead of the game.
Yeah, and you can get this book through that website. So if you have young people in your home who are engaged, planning to get married, boy, I really pushed my daughter to have premarital counseling.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I think she went through a good one too.
Good.
You talk about those that are smiling on the outside but dying on the inside, and then at one point the wife will walk away.
Oh, yeah, more and more. And it shocks the man. I married a solid Christian woman. I don't know she's this upset. It's all internal because she hasn't told me. And when they're done, when a woman is done, it's worse than when a man is done. You can get a man back much more easily. Women
that right?
are just through. The heart is all filled up with resentments. I'm done, and they will walk away.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned a letter of resentments. It's like a paper trail. I believe in paper trails.
Me too.
I tell you, when I get in a little thing, like with a phone company or something,
Document.
Document the date,
Yeah.
the person's name, this is what they said. And I found this once in a relationship that I wrote a letter because I knew if we spoke or whatever, there would be an argument, there would be, some emotion get in it.
Right.
I wrote a letter, and I really believe it handled it, although it was never mentioned and all, but there's something about reading it when the other person isn't there and they don't have this chance to talk back. So you talk about is it a letter of resentments, a list?
Oh yeah, a wife will write is a full-fledged letter she writes out because by the time she's getting the man's attention, she's now had 5 years, 8 years, 20 years of resentments built up. And they only
write a
come
book?
out. She could, she might. It might be 100 pages long. I have her write it out because she will not forgive as much as she can pray and try. Psychologically we're made that we have to express it, and it has to be direct. So she writes that letter, and she's totally honest. Now the point is, I'm forgiving you so I can get through this, but as the man reads it, or she reads it to him, he now understands, oh, here are the very mistakes I've made. Here's the things I really got to quit doing. So it works on that level too.
Isn't he always also saying, the girl's serious?
Oh yeah. When you sit someone down, you read that to them, serious as a heart attack.
You know what? It just dawned on me. I helped a woman write a letter like that once.
Did you?
I didn't even know I was doing therapy. But
You should have been paid for that.
Yeah, they were a nice couple in the ministry and all.
Okay.
But he definitely was not doing right. And so I helped her write. She said, I'm going to put this. I said, no, don't put that. Put this, put this. And when he got that letter, he was absolutely shocked.
Stunned, I'll bet.
And it turned him 180. I mean, he really came to the situation and changed.
It does
and did
work.
fine.
Women have a way of talking in code, dropping hints. You know, I'm not happy. You got to get a man's attention.
Yeah,
Shovel to the
write
head.
it out.
That's it. Boom. Then he's like, whoa. And if he's a good man and he does love you, it will change his heart.
And if anybody out there is thinking of writing a list of resentments, how about praying that the Holy Spirit would maybe lead you so that you don't say things you shouldn't.
Yeah, you don't be mean. It's just honest.
Some things can be said in a better, more diplomatic way, and some things you only tell to Jesus. You know.
Well,
you don't want to just fillet someone.
No, this isn't a hatchet job. It's and the goal is clearly stated. I'm doing what the Bible tells me to do: speak truth and do it in love.
In love.
I'm forgiving you. And letting you know my needs, and then so it's a very positive outcome. Nasty sort of a process, but it's really for the best. Because if I don't do it, I will never forgive you. I will not trust you, and chances are I'll walk away from you.
There's nothing like just being honest. The truth does set you free. I think
it does. Yeah.
We're out of time, but I don't want it to be so long before you come back. It's been a long time since you've been here.
I have to write another book pretty quick to get back in here. Which
well,
I'll
we
do.
could go over the 10 books.
That's
you
true.
have written. But I appreciate your steadfastness through the years that you've been there, helping to heal. God's used you to heal families, bring marriages together. It's very impressive. It's one of my favorite words nowadays, steadfast, that you stay there and do what God asked you to do.
So are you. I admire you so much.
Bless you. Join me next time, remembering, friends, there's no higher calling than that of a homekeeper. God bless you.
If you would like a video copy of today's Homekeepers program for just $19.95, call 1-800-229-0059 for credit card orders, or send a gift of at least $19.95 to Homekeepers, P.O. Box 6922, Clearwater, Florida 33758. Be sure to note the program number which appears on your screen.